It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll pull outside for a while and just smile. Just taking some clean, fresh air for
Smooches, everybody. Whoops. I guess I'll not do that so like that. Um, Last week I picked out as my topic for this week Marlene and Edna. Marlene was the psychic that I lived with in California that took me in when I was 15, getting ready to turn 16. And then Edna is the physical spiritual guide that I had asked for that came into my life at the most important time when I was ready to do a lot of work on myself spiritually. Um, Last week was so long, I figured this week might be that long if I put those two together. So what I'm going to do is a part one and a part two. Part one will be about Marlene, my experiences with her. And then part two will be, um, I'll do later today maybe, if not tomorrow. And that'll be about Edna and my experience with her. Um, I will pick a topic for next week with this video, and then I'll do my cards with the video about Edna, so I'll split it up a little bit. So, okay, so we're going to talk about Marlene now. Um, so I was at that time a runaway, and I was in California, and I had gone to Los Angeles. Was there to see a friend of my brother's actually that was no longer there, but met up with some people that knew him. And I didn't know it at the time, but one of the ladies that I had come across, there were two of them. This woman, which I can't remember her name, which was probably in her 20s, 30s, something like that. And then the other woman was Marlene. And the younger of the two, I found out later, was actually going to turn me into the police, that I was a runaway, et cetera, et cetera. But for some reason, Marlene felt compelled to take me in and to help me, which she told me later. What she did, she took me in. She was my mom's age. She had two sons that didn't, her and her husband were divorced, so they only lived with her part-time. She was a barber. And I didn't know it that night that she was also a psychic and taught meditation. So the first night was, just getting to know basics about each other. And she let me know that, I'd be calling my mom and she would help me get into school. I could stay with her as long as I went to school, and that she wanted me to take meditation. She didn't tell me that night, but the next day we went out to a little kind of deli sort of place that had carob milkshakes, and I had never had one up to that point. So when we were outside sitting down having our milkshakes, she told me she was a psychic, and I didn't really know what that meant at the time. But so, as an example, you could say, um, I still don't know why we had to go to that length, because well, things that happened later would have shown me absolutely that she was special. And so she said to me, see that waitress inside? Because we were outside, and I saw a waitress that was taking care of tables inside. She said, I'm going to kind of send her a message that we need help out here, just to show you, how this works or whatever. I said, oh, okay. And sure enough, within just a couple minutes, that girl just stopped what she was doing and came outside and checked on us and everything. So I was a little uh, interested, really wanted to know more. And things were pretty interesting at the house. I mean, I could be in the bathroom if there was no toilet paper. All I'd have to do is thank Marlene there's no toilet paper, and she would be there, to bring me toilet paper, sort of thing. So I was seeing how that kind of worked, and I should have been smart enough later on to realize that some of the things I wasn't doing right, she knew about, had to have known about. Um, Anyways, let's not talk about that just yet. I'll talk about that later. Um, so anyways, that's when we discussed, she taught meditation. She thought that would really help me. And She also let me know that she was confused why she wanted to help me. A, she was black and I'm white, and not that that can't mix or anything, but it was a little odd for her to feel so compelled to help me. And the way that she would get guidance would be to take her Bible and just, with intention, say what the issue was, what she needed guidance or insight on, and she would just open the Bible, and wherever she opened it to would be the advice that Spirit wanted her to have. So she told me that's what she did for me, because she didn't know why um, she should help me or whatever. So she said, "Are you familiar with the Bible?" And I said, "A little bit." And she says, "Do you know the story of Naomi Ruth?" And I was like, "Well, not really. I've heard of it, but I couldn't quote you what it was about." And so she seemed a little confused. But then I told her, "My mom's name is Naomi Ruth." So she said, "Okay, that confirms that she is supposed to help me." Um, so she did get me in school, and unfortunately, right away, I met two girls, Carol and Renee. They were cousins, and we just clicked. And they didn't like school any more than I did, and so we didn't go to school like we were supposed to go to school. Um, but I just loved them to death. But we'll go back to that in a minute. So I did start going to meditation classes, and you know, on a regularly we would do the meditation, breathing, relaxing, and then going to what we called our garden, our sanctuary. If you watched last week's video on meditation, I talked about Stephen and bringing him to my garden. But that was a place that, nobody else was allowed, nothing else was allowed. It was, unless I invited somebody, it's a place where we were safe, and it was a very calming thing. And Marlene, she just had such a calming voice that it was so easy for me, anyways, to just be guided by her. I found it pretty easy to go into that meditative state, having her guide me. So, um, some of the other things that we did was there, and then I'll go back to Stephen. Um, we did one meditation, which is going to sound crazy to most people, but it was a wow moment for me. Um, we were to think about something we were fearful of, scared of, confused by, something that really stood out in our minds as far as needing answers to get by it. That maybe it was something from a past life, or something that we had forgotten about, or whatever, to get answers to that. Why were we so afraid? And the first thing I thought of was spiders, but I didn't really want an experience to figure out why I was afraid of spiders. Left that alone. But the other thing that I was really scared of and had no clue is that I hated to turn my back on a window at night. Um, I don't know, at that point I didn't know what that was all about, whether it was just the fact that I couldn't see what was out there, but if something was out there, they could see me. Um, and it would just about terrify me to, sometimes I would just back away from a window at night. And it's not like we lived in a scary place or anything like that. It's just that was something that I was always scared of. So, okay. So the exercise that we did, or the guided meditation, was that we were to go inside a large light bulb, as funny as that sounds. And once we were in the light bulb, there was a chair there. We just pull on the light switch, chain thing, and the light would come on, and it would take us to where we needed to go, sort of thing. But she guided us so that we went up and we went out into the universe. And man, I had one heck of a ride, because at the end of it, at the end of the meditation, she even said somebody was really just having a blast going through. And I was like thinking it was about me, because it was so vivid to me. And I would almost swear that I was there. It was just very easy. I don't know how to explain it, but I just fell into these guided meditations so easily with her. So anyways, she was bringing us back down with the idea, or the intention that when we landed, it would bring us to the right spot in time, situation that would show us why we're afraid or whatever the issue was. And it brought me to like a desert area, Middle East somewhere. And there was a village that was surrounded by, I don't know my materials, but like not cement, but sandstone or whatever they might call that, um, uh, structures and everything. And it was like a long time ago. So I had to assume it was like from another lifetime or something. And at the time, I was just flown with it. I wasn't really expecting anything, or just let whatever came to me came to me. And then I was brought into like this, or I just arrived, whatever you want to call it, into this hall of sorts where people were celebrating. And there was one guy in particular that I knew he was the king or whoever was in charge of this community. And he had kind of clapped his hands or done something that, we're talking a long time ago, so I'm trying to go with my memory as best as I can. Um, so these dancers came in, and I knew that I was one of them, this one in particular. And we were dancing together, and I could also tell that this king, whatever, liked me. Um, and I knew that we were supposed to be married, and that was part of this ceremony kind of thing that was going on, that we were to be wed. And at the same time, I could really feel the rest of the people there did not like me and did not want this to take place for whatever reason. So there was a two-sided thing going on here. And then after this dance ended, these women that I was with brought me into another area, and they were disrobing me and getting me ready and uh, dressing me again for the ceremony that was about to take place. It's not that I remember hearing anybody's voices or anything, it's just a sense of knowing sort of thing. And um, then I was kind of standing by myself in an area, and I don't know if there was a mirror in front of me or what it was I was looking at, but there was like a screen to the side of me, to the back of me kind of thing. And I could see um, almost, like from a distance, like seeing what was going on. Kind of, I couldn't tell you exactly how that came to be, whether I'm seeing through that woman's third eye or I don't know, but I could tell that was me, and I could tell that there was someone behind the screen that she wasn't aware of, that lifted like a sword dagger kind of thing. And I just saw the hand coming down, and then I was kind of vacuumed out. You could, like I just zoomed out of this, knowing that's how I died, that someone had assassinated me or, killed me that way. And it just made sense. And I can say instantly from that day forward, I was not afraid of darkened windows, but there was something in the core of what happened. Everybody takes things with a grain of salt, and I can only go according to what I experienced myself. And whether it was totally accurate, if it's something that I don't care. In the end, I wasn't afraid of darkened windows anymore, and I was good to go. Which almost made me feel like maybe I do want to do the spider thing, because I was definitely afraid of spiders for years and years until I started gardening. That helped me. And when I met my husband, the basement I had to clean out because it was a mess, and there were lots of spiders. That helped me get through it. But anyways, that's another story too. Um, okay, so another meditation that we did, which, I mentioned just 3. I mean, we meditated every week. I think maybe sometimes twice a week. Because we did medium class. Um, anyways, so another meditation that we did, um, we were to think of a question that we wanted to ask someone, and whether it was because of fear or just not being able to ask it in the physical of another person, that this was a safe place that we could ask the question and get an answer to be more aware, to help us in that particular situation. And so my thought was that I wanted to ask my mom. Uh, sh the way I put it was, I didn't think thinking about her when I was young and everything, it never seemed like she was having a good time. Like, I just don't remember my mom really laughing a lot, or, she wasn't, um, it's not like we came from a family of huggers and things like that. Um, so that's why I wanted to know. Now, a little bit of background, my mom, by that time, she was living with who was to be her fourth husband. But we also had a abusive alcoholic father at one point, stepfather. It was not easy, you know what I mean? Um, and my mom and dad got divorced when I was younger, and blah 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 blah. But she, you have to take responsibility for your own actions, your own decisions, what you experienced and stuff. And that was her existence. She had 5 kids. She worked as a waitress, worked hard. You know, I know it wasn't easy. They had financial problems. He drank a lot. I don't know if he drank the money away or they just weren't good with spending money. Um, so our meditation was that we were to sit under a big tree, and whoever we want to talk to came down the path, came to us, and we were to ask. And that's what I said to her. And in the meditation, she said, no, I wasn't having a good time. I had 5 kids that I had to worry about. I'll say, my mom always made sure we had clean clothes, new clothes for Christmas, and new outfit for Easter, and uh, a decent, I'd say a decent Christmas for, our family's income and everything. I mean, there were plenty that she tried to do right better than what she was brought up with. And, it was a very honest, even though it was, in my meditation, I had a husband that was beating me, and I had 5 kids to worry about, and not enough money ever. And, and she just kind of laid it out. Now, subconsciously, I probably already knew all this stuff. And maybe that's where, that's where it came out and came, the truth of it. But I felt like I was with my mom and this was the truth, and it was the most honest conversation that we ever had, and it brought me peace and it brought me a little bit more understanding. So I really appreciate that meditation too. And then the third, which I mentioned quite a bit in my last meditation video, um, there was a point where um, we had gone up to San Jose area. I was going to see my brother. I saw him for a little bit. Ended up uh, leaving that visit to go back to where Marlene was and what she was doing, and I didn't know it at the time. She was with a group of psychics that worked with police and families, like I said. And so I got to meet them and be part of it, witness to it. And I mean, like right off the bat, one mother and father had a couple daughters there, and one was, I think, like 9 years old, and she was a healer. I didn't know what a healer was, but I had an extremely bad headache. And she brought me into a room and she kind of talked me into like a relaxation meditation, and she did some things around my head. And next thing I know, pop, I don't have a headache anymore. I wanted to keep her around for a long, long time. So going back into the room where everybody was, by that time in this case about Stephen, I won't say his last name, um, they had already found out that some people did automatic writings, which Marlene also did, where spirit comes through and just writes things, and some of it was a little crazy running off the page and everything. But they had found out that he had been murdered. Uh, well, he was buried alive. He was hit over the head, buried alive. They had an idea of the location where he was, near this lake, and someone had taken aerial shots of that area, because in one of the automatic writings in the drawing, that showed that there was a good sized rock, maybe not a boulder, but a good sized rock, kind of like a beach area with sand or dirt. And that's where he was buried. They put that rock over top of it, whether to mark the spot, I have no idea. But when they looked at a lot of the aerial photographs that they took, there was nothing there. And even when you're around so much activity, spiritual activity, it's, you get some of that going in yourself. And, without even think of it, I opened my mouth and I said, did it rain a lot? That the lake filled up, and that would have, the lake would have expanded up over the rock, as it was. That's the thought where it went to. And it was it was an extraordinary, um, the whole experience just blew my mind. I didn't know people could do things like that, or that I could be part of things like that. And it was easy and it was natural. And, you know, and like I said in my last video, I saw a picture of him. They had his driver's license from his family. And so I knew what he looked like. And so when we did meditation class, and even when I did meditation on my own and going into my garden, I brought Stephen with me. For a variety of reasons. I just felt connected to him. It was an experience I had never been through before or part of before, so I felt this connection to him. And I felt so bad for him. What happened? He seemed like he was a good guy. He wasn't very old. I think he was in his earlier, 21 maybe, something like that. I don't remember exactly. But you know, from what I get, had good intentions for, what he was doing in his life, and not a bad guy. It shouldn't have happened to him. Um, and so, anyways, one of the things that Marlene also did was when um, the class was sitting around, she would let spirits come through her. I know that you've all seen, well, I don't know that you've all seen it, but like Tyler, what's his name? Henry Tyler? Tyler Henry, I think. Or, uh, what's some of the Van Prague, or, you know, I can't think of the one guy's name that I really, 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 really like. Anyways, Teresa from New Jersey, Long Island medium. It was that kind of thing. And spirit came through, and, different spirits, and talked to people in the class. And when she was, she did one more, and it was for me. And actually her son's name was Stephen, and originally I thought that I was supposed to be relaying messages to Stephen, until it was Stephen's guide saying about me bringing him to my meditation, and just talked about that for a minute. That I mean, I literally, my emotions were just, uh, I was overwhelmed with emotions. And I might not have known at that particular moment why, but to reach that point of understanding that spirit hears you, that we aren't just physical, we are spiritual beings out in the physical experience, that when you pray, someone's hearing you, and that maybe I did make a difference in his spiritual journey of some sort. But I that changed my life. That made me realize that this isn't just imagination stuff. And then I couldn't just really go back to 100% ignoring it, because then I kind of felt like, well, spirit is watching me. And I felt like spirit definitely guided me there, crossing paths, because and Marlene and I had some conversations, because like I said, I wasn't, again, still making good choices. I was going to meditation class and all, but school, I hated school. From like the third grade, I just didn't want to be in school ever. And so I played hooky constantly, and of course she knew, you know what I mean? So one day she just said, I wanted to help you, but I think it's time. She had kind of found me a job with a older couple that had a young daughter that they needed a babysitter to help with that. And so she made arrangements that I could go and live with them and babysit for a small, fee. And I was crushed, and she had a long talk with me and said, not everybody's meant to be in your life forever. It's like you learn from each other, you figure out what you're supposed to learn from each other, and then you go on and you try to be stronger and you try to be wiser and such. So um, she kind of also hinted that she wasn't going to be living much longer and stuff like that. But um, you know I don't know about that. I've not ever been able to see her again or anything like that. And it was fine. I mean, she also showed me some exercises for releasing and with love and stuff like that when we're um, to move on from situations or from people and things like that, where you send them love and cut the strings or whatever. And I can't help but feel like I disappointed her to some degree. But if hopefully wherever she is, she's looking at my life now. I know that she understands that. Yeah, it took me a long time to stop screwing up and wasting time and fooling around, and things like that. But I was young and I had to get through some things, and uh, you can't, you can only really learn big lessons through the dark. So we'll just rely on that or fall back on that. But I think she'd be pleased that her teachings and her words did get through to me eventually and help me, and she really did. Um, I mean, there's several people, you meet people throughout your life that uh, said something or did something that would change your life forever, and she was definitely one of them, um, and set me on a better course for sure. Um, and I had also mentioned, because of that experience with Stephen, that um, I didn't meditate like I um, could have or should have, and which probably would have got me on a better path quicker, but that's not what happened. But I did uh, take to heart that I could talk to spirit, God, whatever you want to call him, um, and get guidance, and knew that somebody was listening. And so, like, and even with that, I guess you always, when there's something a little unusual that you're doing or whatever, you think maybe crazy or whatever. But then that book came out, Conversations with God, and that's it, and I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And I knew I wasn't, because of the experiences I had in California, but it would be quite a while before I came across people like that again. Um, and that would be Edna on the next conversation. So, okay, well, that's a little bit about my experience with Marlene, who, like I said, I felt spirit definitely put us on a path together, and I'm forever grateful that she came into my life. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and I was gonna. My brother said I should mention this. This is the book that I wrote. It's called Geronimo, and that situation with Stephen, stayed with me my whole life. There wasn't a whole lot of time that I didn't think about it, and they say everybody has a story to tell. Well, when my husband was going through Alzheimer's and I was caretaker, um, he would wake up in the middle of the night often, and looking for something, and he'd be able to go to sleep and I'd be wide awake. So it was during that time, it took me a year, but every morning, since I was awake anyways, I would write about different situations in my life also. It was initially meant to just review things, and I was just going to type, whatever came out. It was a way for me to think about things and to get it out. And then I realized that I was writing, it evolved and ended up becoming a book. It took me a year to do, but if it wasn't for that situation, this book is definitely a tribute to that situation, that event in my life. Okay, so now I have my handy little book box, and we will pull out a subject for next week. Like I said, I'm still going to do part 2 for my time with Edna. And okay. And that'll be today, or it'll be tomorrow that I do that one. So, I'm going to talk about the concerts I went to and being a concert goer back in the day. So, okay. I'm looking forward to that one because I had a blast. I had a lot of fun back then. Okay, so if you're still interested in some more, I'll be back with another video about Edna and continue on with this. All right. Thank you. I give thanks to all of you for being present. I pray that you go forward in your day feeling more connected to all that is around you. Let the light of spirit shine in you, through you, and all around you. Blessed be, so be it. Okay.